The prompt file is clear. This is a TTS scriptwriting task, not a UIN task. The skill doesn't apply here. The task requires writing exactly 700 lines of English TTS recap script based on the provided source content, following the detailed format in the system prompt. Prompt CT. Let me now write the full 700-line script directly in chat as plain text, following all the rules specified. What if the most powerful warrior who ever lived woke up one day as a helpless boy in a world where women run everything? That's not a hypothetical, that's exactly what happened to our guy. And trust me, it only gets wilder from there. Picture a man who spent 300 years grinding through every level of cultivation the immortal world had to offer. He clawed his way through building foundation, pushed through Danjing, survived Yangyang and infant transformation, and finally cracked the Mahayana level. 3 centuries of discipline, of blood and spiritual energy and sheer relentless will, and he became the strongest man the world had ever produced. Then he woke up in a stranger's body, 17 years old, lying in a bed in a world he didn't recognize. His name in this new life is Chu Qing, a teenager living in the city of Jinmen, and from the very first second his eyes open. Nothing makes sense. The first clue comes fast. A woman is standing over him, one hand pressed to his chest, and she is not checking his pulse. She's got something in her hand. She's moving closer, and Chu Qing's ancient instincts fire up before his new brain even catches up. He holds back, studies the situation, and starts piecing it together because this woman is acting like she owns the room. She wants to pull a classic power move on him, treating him like prey, and that tells Chu Qing everything he needs to know about this world. He activates his aura just a flicker, barely a fraction of what he used to be, and the woman freezes. He jumps back, slips out the door, and hits the street. And that's when the real shock sets in. A couple walks by and the girl is literally pressing the guy against the wall, while he looks terrified. A 7-foot woman bulldozes past him on the sidewalk like he doesn't exist. Workers hauling heavy loads, all women, not a man in sight doing any of the physical labor. Chu Qing ducks into a library and reads for hours, and what he finds flips his whole understanding upside down. Every king in recorded history was a woman, every great military leader, every founder of civilization, female. Men in this world are valued the way women were treated in his old one, expected to stay home, look pretty, marry well. It's an inverted world, and our man, a being who once stood at the absolute peak of existence, is now at the absolute bottom of the social ladder. He heads home, and his father is in the kitchen wearing a cute apron, humming while he cooks dinner. Chu Qing hasn't seen his father in what feels like a literal millennium, so there's a beat of genuine warmth there. But then his dad leans in, sniffs him, and his expression shifts to pure panic. He scolds Chu Qing for getting near the woman from earlier, warning him that women like her will just take what they want by force. Chu Qing processes this, blinked, says forget it, and tells his dad to go call his sister for dinner. He walks to his sister's room, cracks the door, and catches Chu Xiao watching extremely explicit content on her computer, with a notepad full of observations beside her. She doesn't even flinch when he finds her. She just leaves the room with a completely satisfied expression, and tells him the guy on screen was fun and hot. The girls in this world, Chu Qing is learning, do not filter themselves. Later, his sister demands money from their dad to go out with friends, and their father just immediately hands it over. Chu Qing asks why, and his dad explains it patiently. She needs experience, freedom, exposure to the world. The boy should stay home and focus on finding a good woman to settle down with someday. When their mom comes home, Chu Qing goes in for a hug, and she just pats his head and hands him cash like she's tipping a valet. He almost physically gags watching his dad act adorable. And soft, the culture shock hits different when it's your own family. Up in his room, he finds thousands of love letters from girls who've been throwing themselves at him for years. In this world, the original Chu Qing was playing life on easy mode, surrounded by admirers, pampered, protected. But the man now wearing that body has been a warrior for 3 centuries, and easy mode is the last thing on his mind. He starts meditating, channeling energy, slowly trying to rebuild what he lost, and then his phone rings. It's his sister's number, but when the call connects, it's not her voice on the line. A gang of girls has grabbed Chu Xiao and they want money to let her go. Chu Qing doesn't negotiate, doesn't hesitate, he just moves. He shows up with the bag, steps through the door, and the leader of the crew sizes him up immediately. Cute weak. What exactly are you here to do? She asks with a smirk. Shut up, he says, and sets the bag down. The blue-haired girl, running this little operation, calms down when she sees the money, until the moment she decides the money isn't enough. She wants him to stay and have what she's calling a fun time. His sister shouts at him to run, but Chu Qing is not running from anyone. He kicks a table into the middle of the room and makes himself extremely clear, nobody in this room is touching him. When one of them throws a punch, he counters with force that sends her sliding across the floor. 5 seconds and 5 bodies later, the feminist gang is on the ground, He grabs his sister's hand, heads for the door, and that's when things get complicated. Blue Hair pulls out a weapon, his sister steps in front to shield him, and then a new presence enters the room. It's the woman from the very beginning, the one he dodged at the start of all this. She recognizes him immediately, and he recognizes her, and the air in the room changes. She calls herself Chen Shi. She orders Blue Hair dragged out and handled, and then she smiles at Chu Qing like he's a prize she's already claimed. He is going to be her boyfriend number 36. She announces like it's just a fact. He refuses. The situation keeps climbing towards something ugly, and so he does what any ancient grandmaster would do. He bets his freedom on a test of strength, an arm wrestling match. Chen Shi laughs at the idea, says she has never lost to a man, and sits across from him. She turns on her aura and Chu Qing genuinely struggles, because this body is not what it used to be. But then he pulls from the energy he's been cultivating, channels it into his palm and pushes. Her hand hits the table. He stands up, says goodbye, and walks out while she sits there fuming in a way she clearly has never experienced before. Before he's fully gone, she calls out to him, says he surprised her, says her offer still stands. Chu Qing keeps walking, tells her that men have their own hands and feet, and don't need to support anyone's wings. One of her guards moves to follow him and gets slapped by her own boss for it. Chen Shi watches him leave, and for the first time in who knows how long, she is not the one in control of a situation. But the real twist here isn't just that she's interested. It's a line she drops almost as an afterthought. She says she hasn't lost him yet, and then corrects herself, says not to call her that name because her sister is still alive. Something is happening inside the Chen Shi family, and Chu Qing just walked into the middle of it. Outside in the night air, walking home with his sister, he starts getting his first real read on this world's power structure. Chu Xiao is already scheming. She mentions someone named Yichen from an important family, floats the idea of using her brother's connections to lock in a marriage for herself. He tells her one more word and he'll ship her back to that bar, and she goes quiet. Back home, meditating in his room, Chu Qing knows the truth: his current body is nowhere near strong enough. All that training has sharpened his vision and his senses, but his core spiritual power is still buried, still rebuilding itself. He needs to be smarter about how he operates in this world until he gets it back. The next day, at Inman's secondary school, a classmate rolls up asking why Chu Qing ghosted his calls, and something about the guy's energy is all wrong. He's dressed sharp, moves like he expects attention, and Chu Qing looks at him and thinks, this Barbie is not my friend. In the original body's life, maybe they were close, but not to the man now living in it. In the classroom, a girl named Xiaolan glasses, genuinely kind, leans over and asks if he's alright. He says he didn't eat breakfast. She offers him snacks, and that's when another classmate storms over. She shoves a love letter at him, demands to know if he read it, and when he doesn't engage, she winds up to throw a punch. Chu Qing doesn't think he just hits her in the chest, hard enough to send her stumbling backward. The entire class goes silent. Before the girl can retaliate, someone new walks in, a boy named Vio, brother of someone called Wangan, and just his presence stops the whole situation cold. The aggressive classmate backs off immediately, claiming she was leaving anyway because of who Vio's family is. Vio tells Chu Qing he wants to talk, and a bit later they're up on the school terrace. Vio apologizes, says he's sorry about what happened the day before, that he'd asked someone to pick Chu Qing up and lost track of him. That someone turns out to be Vio's sister, and in flashback we see her handing Chu Qing a drink in a car. No explanation, just a drink. He accepted it, which was a mistake. She'd spiked it. Vio is genuinely embarrassed, but Chu Qing just tells him to relax and not to blame himself. Still, a note about that sister: her name is Ya, and she's already decided she wants something from him. After school, sure enough, Ya's car is waiting. She smiles and mentions his family, and that's when Chu Qing gets cold. Threats wrapped in sweetness are still threats, and he gets in the car not because she charmed him, but because he needs to understand what she knows. Inside the car, he breaks one of her decorations, tells her she made a serious mistake, and waits. She drops the act, says she knows his family's business is struggling, offers to help, says they can start as friends. He accepts, but makes it clear, come at him again sideways, and there will be consequences. She smiles like she's already won something, but then a truck comes out of nowhere and slams into the car. The impact flips the vehicle completely, and Ya is hurt, and Chu Qing realizes this wasn't an accident. He wraps his body around her, breaks the door open, gets them both out, and before she can say hospital, a group of women with baseball bats and machetes is already surrounding them. A wild brawl breaks out in the middle of the road. Multiple attackers, bladed weapons, numbers that would terrify anyone else. Chu Qing takes one woman's machete, swings it once, and clears 3 of them in a single motion. Ya handles her own, she's skilled, and together they take down the whole crew without either of them breaking too much of a sweat. But before the dust settles, Ya's phone rings, and her expression shifts to something Chu Qing has never seen from her genuine fear. Her mother has been attacked at home, at the exact same time as this ambush. And that is not a coincidence at all. Chu Qing doesn't hesitate. He tells Ya to stop crying, that her family needs her to be strong right now, and that he will help. She looks at him like she can't believe she's trusting a guy, then hugs him anyway. At the Ya family house that night, the front entrance is controlled by someone named Wei Mei Ya's aunt, who has been plotting within the family for years. She blocks the door, says no outsiders allowed, and specifically calls out Chu Qing for being a man in a household that doesn't let men in. He adjusts on the fly, announces he's a doctor. The security women laugh, until he rattles off two of their exact medical conditions. One's been dealing with a reproductive nerve infection, the other has a joint problem, from years of traditional Chinese medicine and martial arts. Both of them immediately say to let him through. The aunt blocks them again, says any man entering the Ya family needs to prove his worth, and has her daughter step up to test him. The daughter offers a bet if she wins, he spends the night with her. Chu Qing doesn't blink, says fine, let's start. The daughter tries to throw him off, but he reads her completely, and lands a counter to her stomach that sends her flying across the room. The aunt calls it monstrous. The daughter herself, from the floor, says she started it. The aunt is still fuming as Chu Qing and Ya move deeper into the house, and the aunt's expression makes something clear: this family drama is far from over. Upstairs, Chu Qing meets Ya's mother for the first time, and knows immediately that something is very wrong with her body. It's not just a wound, there's a curse mark embedded in her back, drawing energy inward, rotting things from the inside. Whoever did this didn't just attack her, they planted something designed to kill her slowly over 5 days. Chu Qing places his hands on the mark and starts working, pulling the cursed energy out through his palms. It costs him his current cultivation level, isn't enough to do it cleanly, and he has to move carefully so the extracted energy doesn't backfire. When it's done, the woman is already sitting straighter, breathing easier, and looking at him like she's recalibrating everything she assumed about him. He tells her she can thank him later, that Ya is his friend, and he just did what a friend does. She laughs, says she already forgot that they're just friends, and asks if there's anything he wants. He says no, apologizes for even being in her room, and goes to leave. But when he gets outside, he notices the curse energy didn't fully leave, some of it seeped into his palm instead. He stares at his hand, watches the dark mark curl in the lines of his skin, and knows this thing is beyond his current skill to remove. In the fairy world, there was an elixir for curses like this. He needs to find out if anything comparable exists here. His situation just got more complicated than it already was, and the clock is ticking. The next morning, walking to school, Chu Qing spots a crowd gathered near a basketball court and stops cold. The girl draining threes into the net, someone he knows. Someone he hasn't thought about, in what feels like forever. Tang Xian, purple hair, confident stride, a genius according to every admirer watching from the sideline. She was his first crush in prep school. And now, here she is, existing in this world too. And she doesn't know him at all. He tells himself to hold back, to not embarrass himself, to remember this is a different timeline. And then she walks straight up to him. She asks if they've met before, but not in the usual way. She says it like she's trying to place a feeling, not a face. He says they go to the same school, so probably yes, and she says that's not what she meant. She asks if he wants to shoot some hoops, offers to teach him. He grins, takes the ball out of her hands without asking, and the game is on. She sets the stakes: if he loses, he becomes her boyfriend. He asks what he gets if he wins, and she says she'll do whatever he wants. Everyone watching buzzes about the smartest girl in school going one-on-one with this random guy. She plays first, and she plays hard, a three-pointer that drops clean, fast footwork, pure skill. She's better than he expected. Then she goes for a jump shot, and Chu Qing blocks it mid-air. The crowd collectively gasps because nobody expected a guy to jump that high. He takes the ball, drives, leap, and dunks it like punctuation at the end of a sentence. Tang Xian is disheartened, tells him he won, asks what he wants. He leans in, touches her face, and asks if she wants to spend more time with him. She doesn't answer directly, just blushes, says if he wants to be with her, he better keep getting stronger. And Chu Qing is stunned, because the girl he remembered from his old life was never this confident, never this forward. This version of Tangxian is something else entirely. Back at the Ya family home in the days that follow, Chu Qing continues treating her mother, drawing the curse out in stages. Each session also has a side effect he didn't plan, for the healing work is accelerating his own spiritual body's recovery. By the time he finishes the treatment process, his pure aura and spiritual body have leveled up by around 30%. Outside after one of the sessions, Yashangi catches him on the way out, and asks what he wants as a reward for saving her family. He has a very vivid imaginary response, which he keeps to himself and then says he needs to think about it. On the walk home, he figures that once her mother's next treatment is complete, his spiritual body might fully awaken. which would open up everything. That thought gets interrupted by a purple car cutting off his path and a boy in flashy clothes stepping out. He introduces himself as being connected to the Li family and asks if Chu Qing has been pursuing Tang Xian. He says Tang Xian is going to marry him, that's just how it is, and asks if Chu Qing understands. Chu Qing grabs the boy's wrist the second he raises a hand to slap him, locks it down in an instant. The boy calls for security. Chu Qing drips both of them with a kick, then slams the boy's head into the pavement. He says calmly, "Next time you want to fight someone, bring better backup." The boy sputters threats about the Li family, about Tang Xian belonging to him, and Chu Qing just wipes his hands, takes away. But walking away, he's already thinking if the Li family wants Tang Xian, and they're willing to use force, her situation is more serious than he knew. He starts digging, reaches out to a contact, and eventually ends up at a restaurant meeting a girl named Shen Hua, 23 years old, an information broker. She's not what he expected, shy, a little awkward, immediately curious about him in a personal way she doesn't bother hiding. She confirms his suspicions. The Tang family runs a major business empire, but their supply chain has been in trouble, and the Li family offered marriage as their solution. The Li family helps the Tangs financially in exchange for Tang Xian marrying into their line. That's the deal on the table, and Tang Xian has been carrying that weight without telling anyone. But the more interesting detail comes next. Hua mentions that the Tang family is a clan of alchemists. They specialize in elixirs, spiritual medicine, internal cultivation compounds, and somewhere within their knowledge, she says, is a second type of alchemy, one that taps not just into physical internal power but into something deeper, something spiritual. Chu Qing's jaw almost drops, because that second type sounds exactly like what he practiced for 300 years. Are there people in this world who cultivate like he does, through spiritual power, through ancient methods? He needs to know more, and Hua says if he buys her dinner, she'll share everything she knows. They end up at a street food stall. She orders 20 pieces of pork belly and 4 cold beers, and Chu has internal crisis. Looking around, he realizes, yeah, this is just how women eat in this world. The world is literally reversed on every level, including who polishes off a pile of grilled meat with ice-cold beer. Hua drinks too much, leans on him, starts crying about a guy who ghosted her because he thought she was broke, even though she'd liked him for years. She says she's a housekeeper, lives small, spends her free time gaming, and wonders if she's not good enough for someone. Chu Qing tells her flat out that she is good enough, and something about his tone makes her pull back, flustered, asking if he has feelings for her. He carries her home because she can't walk straight, lays her down, and then she grabs his arm and asks him to stay. He's still awake at 2 in the morning, reading news on his phone with her conked out on top of him, and he's already building a plan. The Tang family needs help. The biggest auction house in Jinmen is connected to ancient martial arts, and he has something that could be worth more than anyone in this world realizes. Spiritual stones, objects from the immortal world that concentrate cultivation energy, and he has 5 of them. He shows up at the auction house. The attendant tells him it's closed. He holds out a stone, and the entire vibe of the room changes. The attendant, who introduces himself as XU, heir to the Shan auction house, holds the stone and feels the energy radiating off it. He sits back down slowly, asks how many Chu Qing has, and offers 200,000 yen per stone, 1 million total. Chu Qing walks out thinking that was way more than he expected, and that if he plays this right, he could reshape the entire martial arts economy in Jinmen. But the moment he steps onto the street with that thought in his head, someone else comes for him, a figure in a long coat, knife drawn, moving fast, and they think he's just a weak prep school student. He activates his sword formation and sends a burst of energy back that drops the attacker in one hit. Rain starts falling as he pins the man down and asks one question: who sent you? The answer: Li family. He finishes the man, walks away through the rain, and then feels a sharp pain in his chest, spreading outward, heat flooding through his body. Something in him is destabilizing, some residue from the curse he absorbed from Ya's mother, and for the first time his vision starts to blur. He staggers toward the nearest place he knows is safe. He ends up at Hua's door, barely standing, and when she opens it he just grabs her and holds on. She's frightened and asks what happened. And then somehow, without fully understanding why, he kisses her. The energy swirling in the room turns faintly pink, some kind of reaction between his cultivated aura and the moment, and when it passes he pulls back and apologizes. He thinks aloud that maybe it happened because he took a life in this world for the first time, some kind of karmic pressure releasing. She doesn't let go of him. She just holds him, and by morning they're lying on the sofa together, and Chu Qing is staring at the ceiling making a decision. He didn't want to get entangled in this world, didn't want roots, connections, stakes, but things have already slipped through his fingers. He has Hua Hua. He has Ya and her family. He has Tang Xian. And now the Li family wants him dead. He tells himself there is only one path forward: conquer this world or lose everything. The next day at school, he's half asleep at his desk when Tang Xian walks into the room asking for him by name. He lifts his head. She tells him to stop napping and come eat lunch with her, and the entire class watches in silence because nobody does that to Chu Qing in front of everyone. Then she gets close, tilts her head, and asks why he smells like another girl. He squirms uncomfortably in his seat and thanks every instinct he has when she lets it go, and just asks where he wants to eat. Walking through the school together, she grabs his hand out of nowhere, and he thinks for someone who plays it cool. She's actually terrified of this feeling she has for him. He pinches her cheek and she yanks away, annoyed, asking who gave him permission to do that. He laughs, genuinely laughs, and realizes this is something that has never happened to him before. This soft feeling in his chest around her. At the restaurant, he orders for her without asking 2 bowls of noodles. No cilantro, chili and vinegar, and she goes wide-eyed asking how he knew she liked that. He plays dumb, and she turns red. And neither of them acknowledges that something just happened that is way too specific to explain. Then 2 women at nearby tables stand up with knives hidden under their shirts, and the moment breaks. One goes for Tang Xian from behind and gets a bowl of scalding noodles to the face. Chu Qing burns his own hands throwing it but doesn't stop. The second attacker charges, and he steps directly in front of Tang Xian and takes the hit for her. She's stunned, nobody has ever done that for her, and he's already radiating energy, already fighting back. He launches one of them across the room and drops the second with a palm strike to the back. And when the smoke clears, both assassins are down, and Tang Xian is unharmed. She asks if he comes from a martial arts family. He says no, just an ordinary guy, and she doesn't believe a word of it but doesn't push, because he's holding her hand and telling her they need to leave now. Outside the restaurant, she's carrying him. His wound from the fight is legitimate, and she suggests a hospital. He grins and tells her not to stress about a little scratch. She tells him that the Li family has been investigating him, and that they might be coming for him because of her. He says he can handle that. What he wants to know is what's happening with her family. She tells him the truth. The Tang family formula that their pharmaceutical line was built on got stolen a month ago. Other families are circling, trying to push them out, and the investigation confirmed it's the Li family pulling the strings behind all of it. Chu Qing looks at her and asks if she'd believe him if he said he could fix this. She looks back at him, this girl who's been carrying her family's survival on her shoulders, and asks if he can really do that. He says yes, and then tells her to get ready. Because in 2 days there's a storm coming and he's not going to be able to stay quiet anymore. That storm comes faster than expected. He gets a ping from Hua Hua. Yashangi is in danger. Her phone signal is moving, something is wrong. He calls XU, gets a car, and they track the signal to a van moving through Jinmen with Ya unconscious in the back. XU floors the Lamborghini and runs the van off the road, and Chu Qing jumps out before it fully stops. Armed men stumble out of the wreck. He puts them both down with his magic sword before they can fire. But then something hits the van from a different angle, and it catches fire. And 2 figures step out of the smoke who are not from any regular family. They're dressed like time travelers from the mountains, cultivators, Taoist warriors, the real thing. One of them invites Chu Qing to join their cult. He asks why their cult keeps producing people this weak. The one in the green kimono loses his mind and charges. His weapon meets Chu Qing's magic sword and shatters. Then it shatters more. Then it breaks completely. Chu Qing goes on the offensive and takes the man's arm off with one swing. The second brother unleashes a wave of energy strong enough to flatten the area, but Chu Qing is already using the armless brother as a hostage, holding him between himself and the blast. He tells the old man that if he wants to level up, he needs to come down from the mountain with something worth offering. The second brother leaps overhead and Chu Qing appears behind him and strikes. The man falls, and the whole ambush site is littered with defeated fighters in the rain. He finds Yashangi alive, slaps her awake, and she immediately glares at him. He pulls her into a hug and tells her it's over, she's safe, and everything is fine. She sees the bodies around them and goes quiet. Then she starts talking, says she's sure the Li family hired the Taoist sect on the mountain as muscle. The 2 brothers weren't ordinary, they came from somewhere with real power. And they attacked without Hal's hesitation, which means they've been doing this a while. She says with the Li family, the Taoist sect, and every other small family smelling blood in the water, no one should be optimistic. Chu Qing agrees. And then she kisses him and calls him her lucky star, and he pats her head while she asks if he'll come back with her to her family. He says he's down. At the Ya family that night. It's a formal gathering, the aunts, the matriarch, everyone sitting at a table looking at Chu Qing and Shangi. An aunt immediately objects to a man being present at a family council meeting. Chu Qing tells her he's not crashing her council, he's there to make a deal. He pulls out a spiritual stone and tosses it to the complaining ant. She holds it and feels the energy flow through her body, like someone just unlocked a door she didn't know existed. The mother picks it up next, channels through it, and accidentally discharges a bolt of energy that lights up the room. She looks at Chu Ching and asks how many he has and what he wants for them. Explains the stones won't be sold directly, they'll go to auction in 2 days, and anyone interested can buy with a discount if they reach out to him first. But that's not all he came to offer. He also has a protective garment and an elixir that can boost combat effectiveness by 30% a short time. The women at the table go from skeptical to interested in about 4 seconds. One ant asks how long it'll take. He says the garment in a few days, the elixir in a week, and they can name the price when it's delivered. Another ant asks why he's helping them at all, and he says simply because Yashangi is his friend. She blushes a little and pretends not to. Walking out of the house afterward, she tells him he just wanted to chill at first, but somehow they became real friends. He grins and thinks, yeah, this world is actually worth fighting for. He tells himself once the auction lands and his network is solid, he'll build something in Jinmen worth having. At home that night, he finds an unexpected visitor, an aunt he's never met from the Chu family, apparently here to discuss marriage arrangements. She says he's handsome. She says she has a candidate in mind, and she says all of this to his face like he's a transaction. He is 17 years old, and has been the strongest being in an entire realm. Being treated like a listed item does not sit well. The aunt says something pointed about his parents, about the family back home, about expectations. His dad stands up to make tea, and Chu Ching can see the resignation in his father's posture. Something about this visit is already decided. The aunt drops the worst line last. A girl from a wealthy family has been arranged for him, and his family will benefit. He looks at her, tells her he's not that easy to buy, and asks genuinely, with zero irony, how much she'd pay for a leg. She tells his mother to take him to a hospital. He locks himself in his room and calls someone named Jingxi to handle the situation. He doesn't elaborate on what handling means, but later that night the aunt is somewhere across town having a not great evening. Meanwhile, Chu Ching is in his room, doing what he's been building toward this whole time, crafting. With the materials he gathered from the auction house and his steadily recovering spiritual power, he starts producing magical amulets. Small swords, protective charms, each one coded to activate automatically if the person carrying it is in danger. The material is solid, durable, responsive, worth serious money on the market. At the dinner table, he lays jade necklaces down for his father and sister, tells them he got them from a temple. His dad picks one up and says it feels incredibly good to touch, asks what it really is. Chu Ching just smiles and says it's supposed to have protective effects. He is making armor for his family in secret, and they don't even know it. At school the next day, he's building another amulet under his desk when his seatmate leans over and the tiny sword combusts. His friend nearly has a heart attack. Chu Ching hands over the scorched charm and says to keep it close, it'll protect him, and no one can know. His friend pockets it like it's the most normal things that's ever happened. Then the friend mentions, there's a sports festival coming up, and because of the basketball game with Tang Xian, Chu Ching is basically being drafted. He refuses. His friend keeps pushing, and then uses the line that actually works, it's his last year. Doesn't he want to make memories? Chu Ching thinks about it, says fine, he's in. The friend pumps his fist, because now they can get food, which was clearly the real goal the entire time. Before class ends, a girl named Lin Yun walks in, peach-colored hair. Piano player. School celebrity, and she looks for Chu Ching specifically. She says it's been ages and that he's become a legend since the basketball game. She mentions an elementary school reunion and asks if he's coming, otherwise it'll be boring. He says he'll be there. She pinches his cheek on her way out, and his blue-haired friend nearly collapses in the aisle, asking how Chu Ching knows her. The friend confesses Lin Yun is his ultimate crush and he'd do anything for 1 hour with her. Chu Ching just walks out of class saying he has things to do, and the friend is left behind holding his feelings. He heads to Tang Xian next, finds her buried in homework, sits down with her, and explains the problem she's stuck on. She gets it quickly, and the room around them is watching. But then something breaks into the moment, noise. Commotion. And he stands up. He takes her hand, leads her out to the open court and hands her something, a necklace, a protective amulet he crafted himself. She tries to give it back, says it's too valuable, but he insists and says he needs her to trust him. She gets emotional and thanks him. He goes back to class, keeps making more amulets under the table, promises himself he'll build 10 before going home. When class ends, Yachandi is waiting outside and spots him before he can slip away. She reaches for a hug, he lets her, and she says she finally found him. But then she catches a different scent on him and asks if he's been with someone. He pulls out the necklace he made for her, says she doesn't owe him anything, and she inspects it carefully. He throws a low-energy test object at her and the amulet activates, throwing up a purple shield that stops it mid-air. Her eyes go wide. She pushes him onto a nearby seat and says this is seriously the coolest thing she's ever seen. Then she warns him, if she ever finds out he's with another girl, she will physically fight him. He cups her face gently and tells her he has to leave, he'll be back in a few days. She watches him go with that same expression she always has, somewhere between possessive and genuinely happy. Late that night, at Huahua's apartment, he finds the door open and his sister crashed out on the couch, crying in her sleep. She wakes up, hugs him, says she dreamed about their mom again, and doesn't want to lose him too. She asks if he's going to bail on her the way their mother did. For a moment Chu Ching thinks one day, maybe he'll find his way back to the immortal world. Then he strokes her hair and says he won't leave. She bites him to make sure he means it. While Huahua sleeps, he accidentally opens her computer and finds it loaded with research files on ancient martial arts families. She gathered all of that for him. He leaves her a protective amulet, kisses her forehead, and walks out into the morning. On the street, his dad calls asking where he is, threatens to send his mom, and 3 minutes later a car pulls up. His mom sniffs him from the driver's seat, and he can tell immediately she knows he smells like someone else. He says he was at a party. She pulls out a cigarette, says she's smoking it to cover the smell before his dad asks questions. He covers his nose and thanks her for the aromatic assistance. Later he checks his phone and sees a notification, a magical amulet sold to the Ya family for 1.2 million. He grins, thinks about the immortal world knowledge he's sitting on, and starts calculating what else could sell at that level. He meets XU at a restaurant, drops another amulet on the table, and Yu's first assessment is 10 million minimum. Over drinks, he opens up, says he grew up with his dad until his teens, found out his mom came from a major family, got shipped to a fancy school, and never fit in. The rich kids treated him like he didn't belong, and a girl once asked to his face if he was a legitimate child. Chu Ching listens without flinching and says he gets it. His own family story isn't exactly clean either. His mom's family disapproved of his dad and they ran. Now the family is back, trying to marry him off to some girl who apparently weighs over 90 kilos. Yu bursts out laughing and they raise their glasses. Chu Ching stumbles up his stairs later, moderately buzzed, and almost runs into a girl with a cute bob coming out of her apartment. She starts to feel woozy in his arms. Maybe the alcohol got to her, maybe something else, and ends up lying down on a bed while he watches over her. She leans in like she's going to kiss him and he jumps back, because he has now confirmed this girl is his sister in a different way than expected. And the whole situation is extremely confusing. He goes to a clothing store the next morning, buys an entirely new outfit for the reunion, and runs into a classmate named Joe Boken while leaving. Joe is decked out in chains and looks smug, asks if Chu Ching is really going to the reunion, acts like it's a surprise someone invited him. He says Lin Yun personally invited him. Joe's smug expression cracks, and they both go their separate ways fuming. At the reunion dinner, Tang Xian is already there. Joe is there with a bet that Chu Ching would show up in his school uniform. Chu Ching walks in wearing his new clothes, and Joe immediately owes everyone dinner for a week. The crew is getting drinks, and Joe floats an idea: a men's basketball team for the Olympics, wants Chu Ching to join. Chu Ching says no. Tang Xian pressures him. He says he'll join if she gives him a kiss. She teases him. He goes for it. She promises a special reward if he wins, and somehow he's on the team now. Everyone agrees that if Tang Xian doesn't officially introduce Chu Ching as her boyfriend, they're not accepting the relationship. She's completely unbothered and he invites the entire group to a fancy dessert spot on his tab. Lin Yun arrives late, ignores Joe entirely, and walks straight to Chu Ching. She says the company needed her to record something. She had no choice and extends her hand, asking if he wants to dance. The students are buzzing. The girls are offering to help even though none of them can actually dance. And Joe is at the piano with an attitude. He plays well. He passed level 6 of piano and wants everyone to know it while Lin Yun dances with genuine joy. Chu Ching starts talking to Tang Xian mid-dance, and Joe takes it personally. He slams the piano keys, stands up and demands respect. Chu Ching says whether he listens or not is his own choice, and stands up slowly. He finishes his drink, sets down the glass, and starts whistling. The tune that comes out of him is not from this world, it's a song from the immortal realm. Something so perfectly constructed that the room goes completely still. Girls look like they're standing in a field of flowers, even Joe Boken freezes. Something in the music is affecting Chu Ching himself, some residue of who he used to be, bleeding through, and when he comes back to himself, he's holding a dessert knife. He points it at Joe. Lin Yun steps in between them, her expression comfortable but calm. Tang Xian tells him to stop scaring the pianist before things get genuinely bad. Chu Ching takes a breath, brings himself back, then in a single controlled motion, uses the knife to clip a lock of Joe's hair, dropping the blade next to his foot. Joe reaches up and feels the hair missing, and the knife on the floor, and he cannot breathe. Chu Qing tells him very clearly. He is not the same kid who got bullied, and his classmates should remember that. He tells Joe to leave and says he never wants to see him again. Joe leaves. Chu Qing turns back to the table and suggests everyone celebrate the exit of an annoying presence. The party continues, and Tang Xian tells him quietly that she's having trouble figuring out who he actually is. He tells her soon she'll know. Driving home later, he calls his sister and asks her to cover for him with their parents. She refuses until he promises to pay her. Then she agrees immediately and efficiently. He heads to Hua Hua's apartment, walks in and finds a man grabbing her wrists. The man is her father, and he's there to collect on a debt of 3 million that he himself created through gambling. He says since she's his daughter, she inherits his debt. She throws her credit card at his face and tells him to leave. He says that's not enough and turns to Chu Qing. Hua Hua tells him not to bother, her boyfriend is just a student, he doesn't have money. Her father says he'll find a way to make her pay, suggests she could use her looks and her body to generate income, and Hua Hua starts crying. Chu Qing steps forward and says he'll cover the debt, but only if her father signs a contract agreeing never to contact her again. The man haggles up to 5 million but agrees. Chu Qing shows him what he can do, lifts a mug, turns it into something else with a flick of his cultivated energy, and the man's face goes white. The object hits him in the face. Chu Qing tells him quietly that if he ever comes near Hua Hua again, the sex thing won't leave a mark anyone can trace. The man runs. Hua Hua throws her arms around Chu Qing, crying, saying she'll pay back the 5 million. He tells her that's pocket change. She looks up at him through tears, smiling, and they kiss. The next morning, Hua Hua wakes him early. The apartment is spotless, and she's made breakfast. She tells him she doesn't want to lose him and is trying not to be clingy about it. He says she doesn't have to change anything, just be herself. His back is killing him from the night before, and his phone is already pinging XU confirming the 5 million loan is sorted, and Tang Xian asking him to come to the basketball club after school. At the court, the team is playing dodgeball and getting destroyed by it. Chu Qing watches for a few seconds and says they won't survive a real game playing like this. Tang Xian hands him a paper with a formula she'd been working on and asks if he trusts her with it. He hands it to her and says money doesn't matter to him, he just wants to help. She stares at him for a long beat and then says she's really in love with him now. He asks if she wasn't before. She pulls him into a kiss before she can finish answering. A basketball smashes toward them. He raises one hand and stops it without even looking. Joe Boken, watching from across the court, turns and walks away with his jaw tight. Tang Xian's spin tells the entire team to run 50 laps. They run. That night his mother comes to his room and asks gently, directly, if he likes any girl. He says yes but asks why she's asking. She tells him about the Chu family, the grandmother who married 5 husbands and built a dynasty of dozens of children, the strict internal rules. She says his second aunt had an accident recently, and that's disrupting things, that she can't protect him the way she wants to. If he wants to dodge the arranged marriage they're planning for him, there's one option: get into the National University. The university is the most powerful academic institution in the country. Even the Chu family wouldn't dare interfere with someone enrolled there. Meditating later, Chu Qing feels the weight of that goal settle into him alongside everything else. He's balancing a dozen threads: the Ya family, the Tang family, the Li family threat, the auction, his spiritual recovery, his sister's situation, and now the university. He keeps working, levels up a small sword amulet into a full golden weapon, using the bronze pot he acquired from the auction. He thinks through the 5 cultivation levels of this world: building foundation, Danjing, Yangyang, infant transformation, Mahayana. He spent 300 years reaching Mahayana, and then got thrown back to 0 in a body that hasn't even started the path. The irony would be funnier if the stakes weren't so real. The auction is days away, and he needs to be there not just to sell but to buy. There's a piece of meteor material in the catalog, a fist-sized chunk that weighs hundreds of kilos, still warm when the cataloger identified it. But the real prize Chu Qing spotted isn't what everyone else wants. It's a bronze pot, ancient, listed alongside an ancient wine called Chengui. Everyone will fight over the wine because it grants a serious power boost to whoever drinks it. Nobody has realized the pot it's stored in is made from a legendary golden material, the same material's been hunting for, to forge a proper sheath for his sword. He shows up to the auction with XU, almost gets into a fight with an arrogant couple in the lobby, and Yu has them banned from the venue. In a private room, Ya Chanji is already there, having arrived ahead of him. She pushes him onto a sofa, offers him milk tea while drinking something stronger herself, and pulls him close. Things are about to escalate when Yu walks in, immediately backs out, apologizes through the door. Chu Qing uses the interruption to escape, says the auction is starting, and heads to the floor. At the bidding, when the ancient wine comes up, every family in the room scrambles, but Chu Qing bids on the bronze pot. He gets it, and Yu, reviewing his strategy afterward, admits he thought he'd lost his mind until he realized the pot itself was the real treasure. Driving home from the auction that night, Chu Qing spots a road that shouldn't be blocked and pulls over. He watches from the shadows as an old woman from a martial arts family faces off with someone in a violet cloak. The woman in violet is called Officer Zhongwu, a government messenger from the Ministry of Military Supervision. She moves through 6 fighters in a single sequence, takes them down without looking winded, then opens a car trunk and pulls out the bronze pot, his bronze pot. She's the one who confiscated it first. She senses Chu Qing immediately and tells everyone else to leave. He steps out of the bushes and she punches him in the face without a word. He blocks it. She's surprised nobody blocks that punch and leaps back, then launches a kick at his head. He doesn't flinch. He raises one arm and sends her sliding backward through the air. She pulls off her cloak, grabs a weapon and fires. The bullet hits his golden energy shield and the explosion is massive, and she's grinning, walking toward the car to take the pot again. Then his golden sword comes from behind her. She goes down. He recovers the pot, but the impact left something in him. The bullet wasn't ordinary. He presses the wound to slow the bleeding and understands now that round was specially designed to disrupt a martial artist's cultivation, not just pierce the skin. He needs help, and he needs it tonight. He goes to Hua Hua, staggers in, bleeding, and tells her he's not dying but he needs her to use a knife. She calls Ya Chang'e in a panic. Ya Chang'e arrives, takes one look at the wound, takes the knife, and drives it into the right spot without hesitating, while Chu Qing screams and Hua Hua watches from across the room with her hand over her mouth. Blood everywhere, then bandages, then silence. Ya Chang'e sits across from him, fuming, and asks if he's been spending time with Hua Hua. He says yes, and she asks if he'd be okay with her going out with other guys. He says she can if she wants to. She looks at him like he just said something in a foreign language. He tells her flatly, if she can't accept how he moves through the world, they can call it off. She sicks his ear and says the next time he gets hurt, he comes to her first, not someone else. He spills the real news. He took out a ministry messenger last night, Zhongwu. Purple robe. Killed in what he calls self-defense. Both girls go completely still. Ya Chang'e holds up the bullet and explains that what hit him is called a Wang bullet, designed specifically to destroy martial artists from the inside, and the Ministry of Military Supervision is the only body authorized to produce them. She says the delegation has 5 levels from weakest to strongest. Red and purple at the bottom, green in the middle, then blue and yellow at the top. She asks what level messenger Zhongwu was. He says purple robe. She exhales the weakest tier. But the fact that the ministry is sending anyone means something is shifting in Jinmen, and Chu Qing is now on their radar. His alarm goes off the next morning and he tries to leave for school. Ya Chang'e blocks the door and says he cannot move with a wound like that. He peels off all the tape and bandages right in front of her. The wound is already mostly closed. She stares at him and asks if he's even human. He offers to teach her the healing technique. She says she can't believe she's about to learn something that every military officer in the empire would commit crimes to know. He tells her he'll show her another day. Right now he has school. She storms out, and Hua Hua watches the door shut behind her and whispers that she's really angry. At school, his blue-haired friend keeps trying to wake him during class. The teacher catches them both and sends them out. She says she doesn't care if Chu Qing sleeps, but she won't let him disrupt other students, and she threatens to call his parents. His friend Xiaolin jumps in and takes partial blame. The teacher escalates and says she'll call Xiaolin's parents to expose how she's wasting her education chasing a boy. Chu Qing says if she's going to do that to Xiaolin, she has to do it to him too. The teacher makes a deal. If either of them scores below a set threshold on the next test, they call the parents and confess their relationship publicly. She wants to make an example out of young love ruining academic performance. Chu Qing accepts the bet without blinking. In the hallway, a group of girls corners Xiaolin. They're angry because word got out that she talked to the student council president's boyfriend, and they think she's trying to poach him. Tang Xian hears about it, finds Xiaolin, and Chu Qing diffuses the whole thing by pulling the blue-haired girl into a hug and saying they're just friends, good ones. Tang Zan watches with her arms crossed. He tells her later at lunch that her fan club owes Xiaolin an apology. Their friend Tao Yun Yao jumps in trying to referee and tells him to apologize to Tang Zan for hugging someone else in front of her. Chu Qing says the fan club apologizes. Tang Xian asks when he's going to start spoiling her. He says just wait and see. She pulls him close and asks if that means he should also avoid Tao Yun Yao. He grabs her shirt and says the answer to that is probably yes. She turns bright red and tells Tao to leave. Alone, Tang Xian tells him she has something important. The formula he gave her, the one he said boosts martial arts cultivation, she ran tests, and it actually functions as a poison for the practitioner. Chu Qing goes quiet. Because that formula was never meant to be used with female meridians, and the interaction created a compound that reverses on the user. He tells himself he needs to study how male and female cultivation differs in this world. Because something fundamental is different about how spiritual power moves through a woman's body here. Tang Xian says the Tang family has evaluated the formula, and it's worth 200 million, and if he undersells it, she will personally consider it a personal insult. He seals the deal. He also tells her he wants to buy specific medicinal ingredients that only the Tang family carries raw materials for elixirs. She asks if he wants to become an alchemist. He shrugs and says why not. She looks at him like this is either the best or most reckless thing she's ever heard in this world. No man has ever made potions. Not in the entire empire. Maybe, she says, he can. That night in his room with materials from the Tang family order, he conjures a container and gets to work. Making medicine through cultivation is completely different from alchemy. In the immortal world, the spiritual pathways are reversed. The energy doesn't flow the same way. But with the bronze mask amplifying his perception, he works through it, and by the end of the night he's produced his first batch of Kuang Yi Dan pills. 30% power boost each one. Hua Hua knocks on his door, comes in and he shows her what he made. She asks if that's supposed to be exclusive to the Tang family. He just smiles. She hugs him. He kisses her. And when she says they can't do certain things tonight, because the timing is wrong, he wraps her up anyway and they sleep. By morning, a call comes in from someone named Yao, his friend's sister, saying she has no idea what's going on. But she wants to know if Chu Qing is about to become her brother-in-law. Between the friend's comment about Tao Yun Yao and the call from the sister, Chu Qing starts connecting dots about his social circle. He promises to help his friend win over Tao Yun Yao and makes a mental note that the guys in this world really do love to gossip. Outside school later, Ya Changji is leaning against his car with milk tea. She says she waited in line for it, and he'd better drink all of it before it gets cold. He accepts the cup, takes a sip, and the world starts to blur. He thinks she sedated me again. He thinks, I am so dumb. The cup drops from his hand. He wakes up in a bed with Ya Changji sitting on top of him and immediately panics. She tells him to stop moving so much, then leans in and kisses him. Then she hands him a book, the Yi family registration diary. She says he has to be her man for her to show him this. He tells her he already thinks of her as his wife. She says she doesn't need him to do anything for her. She's ready to do everything for her future husband. She pulls him in close, and in the kiss she feels something enter her, a small aura, a tiny transfer of energy. Something he slipped to her deliberately. She asks what he put in her mouth. He says it's a good thing, she'll find out soon. A blue glow begins surrounding her body, expanding slowly outward. She looks down at her hands in absolute awe, as her cultivation breaks through a barrier that had been stuck for months. She's now in the Wuding realm, third layer, and she realizes what he gave her was the ancient wine from the auction. She asks where he got it. He says it's a secret. She tries to test if she's stronger than him now and throws a punch. He catches her fist, absorbs the energy, and holds her still. She shoves him onto the bed and says she'll prove she's in control. He thinks, I will not survive this world with my energies intact. The next day at school, Tang Xian pulls him into sports off and demands to know where he was last night. He says he was at a hotel with Ya Changji. She slams her hand on the table and stands up. He asks calmly, if they're going to be together, is he expected to be her only person? She says her family's rules won't allow it. He says everyone should have equal rights. She says rights between men and women aren't equal in this world. He says quietly, with complete certainty, that he's going to change that. She stares at him. He says if she can't accept how he sees the world, they can go their separate ways. She asks if he'd really just walk out without saying anything. Then she confesses she's into him. She wants him as her future partner, and what he did has her furious. She challenges him to arm wrestle. If he loses, Ya Changji is off limits. He says that's all she's got? The golden glow surrounds them both. She's going all out, stronger than Ya Changji, and he can feel the difference. He squeezes a pill in his other hand, channels the boost into his grip, and slams her hand to the desk. She stares at where her hand landed, completely at a loss. He reminds her to keep her word. She says she'll let it go this time, then yells that if they don't end up married, she will never leave him alone. He walks home, thinking that might be the most honest thing anyone's ever said to him in this world. At the house, there's a girl in a green dress sitting in the living room, blonde, poised, and she introduces herself as Gong Yui, his fiancée. She pulls out a marriage contract with signatures from the head of the Chu family, his mother and his grandmother. He checks it, doesn't recognize any of it as something he agreed to, and tears it in half. She says that was brave, but Grandma Chu is not going to be happy. He asks what she wants and invites her to dinner. She tells him she's a lady of the Chu imperial family, and he should be grateful she's even willing to marry him. He thanks her sarcastically and kicks at her. She kicks back. He's pushed backward and realizes with genuine shock this woman is even stronger than Tang Xian. He pulls out his golden sword. She reaches into her dress for something, and the standoff goes completely still. She lifts her hands and says peace, then tells him he has what it takes to be her husband. He laughs because he said no already, and she says she wasn't on board with it either. But apparently when she was a child she was unpopular with boys, and finding out her promised fiancé turned out to be strong and handsome was a genuine shock. She warns him there will be consequences if he refuses but asks first if he could possibly get into the national university. He says he's going to. She laughs, stops laughing, looks at him carefully, and says maybe he actually could. She proposes a deal. She'll handle the Chu family pressure, and he'll help treat whatever is wrong with her body. He says he can't tell what's wrong until he examines her. She says that's his problem to figure out, and if he can't, she'll send him to the Ministry of Supervision. They trade terms. He wants Wong bullets. She wants healing, and she slides him a pill to test. The 30% boost hits her immediately, and she feels it singing through her meridians. She hands over 10 of the specialized wing bullets exchange. He starts with her face using his cultivated energy to reshape the damage done over years of problematic spiritual flow. She looks in the mirror and her face is changing, slimming, becoming what it would have been without the blockage. She hugs him in celebration, and he tells her that's all he can do. For now the rest of her body is different and would need a different approach. She goes quiet when he tells her what's really wrong. Her spiritual route was interfered with a long time ago, and whoever did it may have been someone from his family. She pulls out a gun. He tells her that shooting him will interrupt the treatment and make things worse. She shoots anyway. He dodges. Her face starts bleeding where the treatment is reversing. He says, "I told you." Then, calmly, he says the Chu family is using him as a trap for her, and he suggests they work together instead of against each other. She looks at the blood on her face, at the boy standing across from her with his sword put away, and something shifts. She agrees to the alliance. He tells her to stop training in martial arts until he can stabilize her foundation, otherwise she risks destroying herself from the inside. She watches him go and thinks that it's wild he actually wants to help her, after everything. Back home, Chu Qing tells his parents at dinner that Gong Yu has likely already flown back to the capital, and probably won't be moving forward on the marriage for at least a year or two. His parents exchange a look like they already knew something was coming. He starts planning how to counter the family that's this whole trap. Days pass and one evening he calls his sister's number. A man answers. His sister is with someone, and when she accidentally picks up the call and hears her brother pretending to be her new boyfriend, she panics and snatches the phone back. He laughs, tells her he's just messing around, and she asks what he actually wants. He asks if she wants money. She says yes immediately and tells him he's the best brother she's ever had. He checks his balance. Ya Chang'e apparently deposited a significant amount and sends his sister a share. At school the next day, the 3 boys from the Ya family incident are following him around, treating him like their boss. He decides to actually use that, tells them he's going to teach them ancient martial arts fundamentals, that his methods are different, and that he needs people who can keep up. They agree without hesitation. Ya Chang'e shows up outside school just after that, leans against a sleek car, and offers him milk tea. He doesn't take it this time. Last time she did this, he woke up unconscious. She tries to kiss him anyway. Someone nearby asks if he's Chu Qing, a security woman from the Tang family. He heads to the car and finds Tang Xian's father inside, along with a woman who is clearly Tang Xian's mother. Her father says he's not a good match for their daughter. Her mother makes a cutting comparison about worth and heritage. Chu Qing asks what they actually want, other than to call him arrogant. Then Tang Xian herself arrives, and before anyone can say anything else, Chu Qing grabs her and kisses her right in front of her parents. Her parents are frozen. Tang Xian pulls back, tells her parents it's late and gets in the car, and then Ya Chang'e grabs him and throws him into her own vehicle. She says he should have thought about that before kissing someone in front of her. He says she's his, no question, and she lets him out of the car, quietly claiming ownership in her own head. On the way home his phone rings. It's not his sister's voice, it's someone else on her phone, giving him 30 minutes to get to a building called the Drunken Dream House, or he'll find only a corpse. He drives across the city while on the phone asking anyone who picks up where the Drunken Dream House is. He finds out it's run by Meng Zui, the second-ranked master in all of Jinmen, known for power that has no ceiling. He finds the building, takes the elevator to the 67th floor, and finds his sister tied up on the floor. She begs him to run. He puts her to sleep with a touch so she won't get in the way. A woman with a veil steps forward, Meng herself. She says his sister worked as a bartender there, and got involved with the mayor's son, which led to consequences that Meng is now trying to resolve. She reveals the complication: his sister got slapped by the mayor's son, and now Meng has a handprint on her own face from intervening. She demands 300 million. Chu Qing proposes an alternative. He'll personally handle the mayor, and she releases his sister now. He offers spiritual stones as collateral 20 exchanges, and agrees to spend the night at her place as part of the deal. Then he immediately regrets agreeing to that part. Later in the room, Meng appears with a syringe, and he leaps off the bed swinging his golden sword. The deal is off the moment needles appear. He grabs his sister and walks out of the building with her in his arms, telling Meng she can chase him or let it go. Meng watches him leave and thinks he's genuinely fascinating. At home, his dad asks what happened to his sister's face. Chu Qing says she got kidnapped but she's fine, and his dad says why would anyone kidnap her if they're broke? Chu Qing says kidnapping doesn't check your bank balance. His dad mentions something happened at his mother's company, and then dodges the question before Chu Qing can dig into it. He falls asleep trying to figure it out. The next morning he goes to his mother's company for the first time. He shows up at reception, causes a small scene, and his mother spots him in the hallway looking completely confused about why her son is there. In private, he tells her everything: the kidnapping, Meng Zoe, his sister, what he had to do to get her out. Then he lifts water from a glass, holds it suspended in the air and drops it back in. He wants her to see it. Wants her to know he can protect himself and the family. She looks at him and says she had no idea there were other things going on, that she thought it was only Ya Changji changing him. Then Ya Changji herself bursts through the door calling his mother-in-law. His mother lets her in. He has no idea what's happening. Jia Changyi says she heard the company was in trouble and wanted to help, and she's already found him the weapon platform he needs for the Wang bullet. He asks her to help him get it. She agrees, then drags him into a bathroom to have a private conversation about exactly what kind of relationship he thinks they're in. He says he has to go. She says if she catches his other girlfriends, she might hurt them. She says this is a warning so he won't blame himself later. He escapes. She yanks him back by the shirt. He thinks about the blonde Gong Yui and his face gives something away. Ya Changyi's expression goes dangerous. He leaves quickly, drives to Suzaku Street, and studies the Xing family compound from outside. It's impossible to go in without preparation cameras everywhere, an old martial arts master on staff who can sense presence through trees. He drives away thinking through the angles. Tang Xian shows up behind him and asks why he's been absent for 2 days. She says she's worried, and that she found out the Tang family may have contributed to his mother's companies. Struggling, she thinks he's angry with her. He puts his hand on her cheek and tells her she worries too much, and the fact that she cares about him matters. She blushes and says she's his girlfriend, she should worry. He asks her what she knows about Meng Zui. She says Meng is the second-ranked master in Jinman and runs the biggest underworld operation in the city. She lists the first 10, Wei from the Xing family at the top, then 2 from the Tang family, 2 from the Li family, 2 from the military supervision squad. He thinks, I've already killed one of those, injured another, arm wrestled the matriarch of the Chen family, and treated the mother of a third. He decides he needs more intelligence before touching anything else. At Hua Hua's apartment, she helps him map the Xing family's security camera positions, alarm placements, staff rotations. Ya Changyi arrives, finds him there, breaks the door down with a gun, and fires a shot at him. He takes the gun away, furious, and she laughs and says she never planned to kill him, just put a hole in him somewhere inconvenient so he'd stop flirting. Then he looks at the gun and realizes it's the exact weapon calibrated for the Wang level 3 bullets Gong Yu gave him. He thanks her, which leaves her speechless. Later that night he slips into the Xing compound, finds his sister's boyfriend, and confirms that the young master is genuinely in love with Chu Xiao. He's shown up on this kid's phone screen, the boy scrolling through photos of her at 2 in the morning. He convinces the kid to create a distraction to keep the old master busy for 30 minutes. Then he goes to find the Xing family matriarch. He finds her in her room, steps inside, and tells her directly he's here to ask for her blessing for her son to marry Chu Xiao. She looks at the masked boy standing in her private room holding a weapon, and does not panic at all. He pulls off the mask. She recognizes him. She says it seems Chu Xiao is still alive, and that this means Meng Zoe disobeyed a direct order, which says something about Chu Qing's influence. He says Meng kept his sister safe because of him, and that without her the matriarch would have needed a lesson herself. He produces the marriage contract with the Gong family seal on it, the document Gong Yui repaired and returned to him. The woman unrolls it slowly. Her expression changes completely. She looks up at him and asks, in a voice that has lost all its composure, "Are you Madame Chu's grandson?" Chu Qing stands there in the matriarch's private room, weapon put away, the contract in her hands, and lets the silence do the work. He is not just a student, not just a boy with unusual strength, he is the grandson of one of the most powerful women in the empire. Every calculation this family has made about him just collapsed. and he can see it happening in real time across her face. The Lee family sent assassins for someone they thought was a nobody, and they were catastrophically wrong. The ministry sent a messenger against a teenager, and that messenger didn't come back. The Taoist sect sent 2 mountain warriors and lost an arm between them. And every woman in Jinman who looked at Chu Qing and saw a cute, harmless boy is about to realize they were looking at the wrong person entirely.